All right, fam. We back. We back again. We definitely had to take care of some technical issues, but we here. God's work, man. Is God never said it was going to be easy, but definitely we're going to continue. Move forward. We persevere. We face our challenges. And as I welcome you earlier, definitely I want to welcome each and every one of you all for tuning in this Sunday morning. I hope you had a peaceful weekend up until this point. I know today is Sunday, and I know many of you probably going to church or engage in your regular Sunday activities. So I hope that you find time this morning, to tune in, to come inside the bullpen, to share with me maybe an hour, with my guests, and we have a very important topic we're going to talk about this morning. Before I begin, but I definitely want you guys to say, to share, to share this conversation. It's a conversation that is well needed in our community. It is helpful. It's going to be informative, but also will be healing. Also, if you like what you're hearing, also hit the like button. Definitely, it's free of charge. You don't have to pay anything. Just subscribe to this page because this is a platform for those men and women who have been incarcerated, who are back into the community. Some family members still have brothers and fathers and sisters still incarcerated. This is your program. This is what this is set up for. So I want to thank you all, my family back in Anderson, Alabama, my day one family, but also my family here in Baltimore City. As always, Dr. Winkler. Thank you for allowing me to utilize this space. But we want to get into it this morning. This morning, I have a very special guest on, a beautiful brother. We're fortunate enough to meet this brother sometime back at a conference. But this morning, I have the Reverend Dr. Andre Humphrey on this morning, who's commissioner for the Baltimore City Trauma Response Team. The brother is born and raised right here in Baltimore. He understands the politics, the ins and outs of Baltimore City, as well as the violence that's taking place. So I want you guys to really get your paper and pencil out, take some notes, because a lot's going to be said here when we talk about our topic this morning, Baltimore City, violent, traumatized, and in search and answers. So as always, my brother, Dr. Humphrey, welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you, Dr. Radler, for having me. Thank you, Dr. Winkler. It's it's God's divine plan that I made it back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I got to send you a picture that we took the top because a lot of them brothers didn't get it.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir, brother.
I couldn't find it in my phone, but I'll make sure you get it.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to that, brother.
Yes, sir. So I'm honored to be here, dealing in trauma out there 24/7. See
Yes,
a
sir.
lot. Sometimes you got to step back, and I can't bring my work on.
Right. Yeah.
Too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Yeah.
It took a toll on me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm open. I'm ready.
Yes, sir. Well, definitely for those that may not know you, just talking as I said, this is brother, born and raised right in Baltimore City. The brother's returning citizen himself. So tell a little bit about you. So what I'd like to kind of like to start about, just tell a little bit about your background. Also, then coming home and how you got involved in the trauma care, trauma response team. And then we're kind of going from there.
Yes, sir. Well, I understand that a lot of brothers that I shared time with had mental health issues that
Yes,
didn't
sir.
get addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And why we have the vicious cycle is because when you don't get that help, come back, the same attitude. When you change, you have to change people, places, and things. Um, I was fortunate enough to meet up with brothers and work with the brothers. Uh, was vice president of the Prison Rights Coalition,
Yes, sir.
brother Yaya and brother Master Musa and all those
Yes,
brothers.
sir.
So
Shout out to Yah, shout out to Musa.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we, Ghost Tail, all us, we just jail. I mean, we just clicked.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my background and my story, Doc, is a little different
Mm-hmm.
because people couldn't understand what was I doing in the penitentiary for 10 years
Yes, sir.
amongst lifers.
Mm-hmm.
So, I went in, young guy, played the street number.
Yes, sir.
And it came out, the man ain't want to pay my money.
Right, right.
So, boys slid me a piece. And,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I didn't know the man had that much money on him. He had $25,000. So he grabbed my brother, the one that just passed away.
Yes, sir.
Put a contract on me. And by the grace of God that I'm still here.
Yes, sir.
But I prepared myself while I was in prison and studied and went to school a little bit. But most of the brothers that I ran with, they was interested in talking about who was the toughest and who was the baddest.
Right.
Some of them brothers went home 2 or 3 times while I was still bitten.
Mm.
So 10 years and less, 10 years and under, you go to the new jail.
Right.
They sent me to the old jail. I
Okay.
call it the Adam family house.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I ain't
Yeah.
got to tell you up there in
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hagerstown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure you heard about.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that's where the discipline part came in. But
Mm.
unfortunately, God pushed my mom, and you know, I had to put the work in.
That's
You
right.
know, if you want
Mm.
me to be more specific,
Mm.
you know, I stabbed them. They sent me in the penitentiary,
Right. Right.
and from there, um, they labeled me. You know how people put stigmas on
Right.
it. The word incorrigible.
Right.
It means
Mm.
can't be corrected, no
Mm.
hope. But thanks be to God.
That's right. That's right.
So I stayed focused. And one of my biggest fears, doctor, if I can speak freely,
Yes, sir. Mm.
was it's a mindset in prison that if you don't reform, I mean, either you fight or switch, you kill or be killed.
Right. That's right.
So
That's
it was a war zone. But
right.
I was fortunate enough that the brothers that was out there on the front line, you know,
Mm.
Dennis Wise and all
Mm.
those guys, and
Mm.
you know, we never had a problem.
Yes, sir.
You know,
Mm.
men respect men
That's right.
regardless of what geographical
Mm.
location they're from. So when I came home, you know, I went to school, you know,
Mm.
got my bachelor's theology, master's divinity, master's Christian education,
Mm.
and then I pursued my doctorate, uh, doctor of divinity and public health.
Mm. That's right.
So as time went on,
Mm.
um, my son told me he wanted to go into the military.
Okay.
He said he wanted to be a man. I said, you ain't got to be no man to go in the military, but
Mm.
he wanted to be a Marine.
Right.
So he went in, and some of the things that I instilled in him,
Mm.
he took it with him. I told him never let nobody see what gets next to you, and just stay focused and just make God the center of your life.
Right.
And
Mm.
he did that.
Mm.
So he told me when he went to Paris Island, 47 of the guys got off the bus, and only 27 of them made it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know if you know anything about,
Right.
but
Oh yeah. Yes, sir.
yeah. So um,
Mm.
his drill sergeant recognized that he had leadership potential
Mm.
because he thought the man was, you know, just picking on him. And he went to the barracks to challenge his sergeant, drill sergeant, not
Mm.
knowing the drill sergeant was a kickboxer.
Mm.
He said he
Okay.
kicked
Mm.
him down the road like
Mm.
an empty can, you know.
Yeah.
And then from there,
Mm.
he was a silent drill team, a team leader in
Mm.
silent drill marching band.
Mm.
And then the next thing I know, he was telling me, do he asked me, do I think it would affect his security clearance
Mm.
because of my background?
Right. Right. Mm.
Because you know they went all the way back
Right.
to my
Right.
third grade teacher.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So
Mm.
because they want to know who he gonna share this information with,
Right.
and he got it, and he was remind me to give it to you at another time, but I
Mm.
got a picture with him and George Bush.
Mm.
He
Okay.
secret
Yeah.
service with George Bush,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah. Yes, sir.
he came home one day, Doc, and found out that the stepdad was beating on his mom.
Mm.
Stepdad was a former Howard County, former state trooper, former Howard County police.
Mm.
They got into a fight,
Mm.
and he got the best of him because they told him in Paris Island one Marine
Mm.
uh, can beat. I mean, a Marine can beat 5 men.
Right. Right.
So he got the best of him as he was leaving. His stepfather killed him.
Man. Wow.
So um, you know, we can talk real talk.
Yeah. That's
If
yeah.
if
Yeah.
I wasn't a preacher, I
Mm.
was called in the ministry
Mm.
probably about
Mm.
30 years ago.
Mm.
But it had not been for the grace of God, I
Mm.
know what I would have done.
Yes, sir. No, I
So
understand, brother.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Mm.
you know, back then when I was younger, that's all I believed was
Mm.
street justice.
Right. Right.
Police couldn't catch him quick enough,
Right.
but knowing the word, the Lord say, "Vengeance is mine,"
Right. That's right.
and
Mm.
you know He'd do a better job than I can. But
Mm.
you know, the guy be getting out soon. He had
Mm.
30 years
Mm.
suspended, 5 years sentence. I was wounded so bad, Dr. Bradley, that it affected me. You know, I withdrew it, and
Mm.
it affected my thinking.
Mm.
It affected me how I dealt with people, how I
Mm.
saw things,
Mm. Okay.
and that's how I got involved with the trauma piece on the uh, grounds level,
Mm.
grassroots level.
Okay. Good.
Hmm.
No, but I mean, you definitely shared a lot this morning, brother. I mean, it's just telling you stories about yourself and having to was incarcerated and and what that was like in prison as well. And and but making a decision that you want to change your life.
Yes.
And I'm glad you shared that part of the story, because many times, when I was listening to the audience, I want, I always like to, highlight that part, is that sometimes we buy into the belief, some of us, that we can't change.
Absolutely.
That we're stuck, if you will, that we can't turn our life around. And the one thing that I want to point out is that God is always there. For
Absolutely.
those that believe in God, whatever way that you see your higher power. I use the word God. Some may use a different word, but it's referred to the higher power. That energy, that source, that ultimately makes a decision about your life in terms of allowing you, having the grace and
Mhm. You
and the
said the
mercy,
word, the
you
grace
know,
of God.
to say, okay, well, you're still my child,
Absolutely.
and so every man, every woman that's want to embrace that, the opportunity is there. And my thing I say is that, you know, that is the miracle.
Yes,
You
sir.
know, take a young man like yourself, like myself, who have this history of incarceration, of criminality, but yet we sit here today as a child of God, as children of God, who
Absolutely.
who turned our lives around. And like, I heard Reverend Jesse Jackson say many years ago, he said that God sometimes take a crooked stick to make things straight.
I know that's right.
You know,
Amen.
you know,
That's right.
hey,
That's right.
and so my thing
He
is,
used jacked up folk, Doc.
that's right.
That's right. He
Yeah,
don't use perfect folk. I
that's
like
right.
that. That's
See,
right.
that's right. And see, because what better person can talk about this than someone else who have lived this right here. So
Absolutely.
I'm definitely glad that you shared that part of your story, and how you segue into the fact that, and this led to you getting involved in trauma. So talk a little bit about that part of it, say, building that up as well.
Well, I know this was preordained by God
Mm-hmm.
because uh, every job I ever had, I've gotten it because of my past. If you're
Yes,
ashamed of your past, somebody else will tell it.
yes, that's right.
And
That's
I'm
right,
not, and
brother. I
I'm not
like
going,
that.
I'm not going to let nobody else
Mm-hmm.
tell my story.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Um, Almost in 1969, uh, I think I was 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My buddy, he came around the corner. People may not remember the deuce in the quarter, the
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
lecture
yeah. Lecture
225.
225. That's right. Yeah.
He came around the corner,
Yeah.
Doc. I knew the car
Mm-hmm.
was stolen.
Yeah.
And my
Okay.
dad always told me that if you get in trouble for protecting yourself,
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. But if you do something stupid, back
Yeah.
then,
Mm-hmm.
the turnkey, they call your parents. And my father, he said, you got a son named Andre? This is resident. My father said, what did he do? He said, he was in a stolen car. He said, I don't know him.
Yeah.
Him.
Mm-hmm.
And sent me to Maryland Training School for
Mm-hmm.
boys, which now is Charles Hickey School.
Charles, okay.
So
Yeah.
when I went back to
Mm-hmm.
start my ministry called Reaching Unreachable Outreach Ministry, I just went the same way we doing, just
Mm-hmm.
shared my story
Mm-hmm.
because I saw myself in a lot of those kids.
That's right.
So they hired me on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked in the Department of Juvenile Service, working with kids for practically all my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I seen so much trauma, so much anger,
Mm-hmm.
so many kids being taken advantage of,
Right.
beaten up,
Mm-hmm.
not feeding them, bringing
Mm-hmm.
drugs in.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother always instilled in me. My mother and father said, if you're in a position to change corruption and you see it and don't do nothing about it, you just a virtuous person that's
Right.
normal.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So in 2000, uh, I shut Charles Hickey School. I downsized.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You can
Mm.
call me.
Yeah.
It's a difference
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
snitching and telling.
Right. Right.
You know,
That's right.
yeah,
That's,
snitching is when you're
mm,
going
mm,
behind somebody
mm.
back. Doc,
Right.
give me information.
That's right.
Yeah, I told.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went live,
Mm,
and they shut it down.
mm,
And the kids came to me
mm.
and told me, don't try to psychoanalyze me. Let me tell you about me. Let me
Yeah.
tell you my story.
Mm,
And that's how I wrote the book, Black Youth and Juvenile Justice System.
mm.
And a lot of those kids that I sold, I invested in, like
Mm.
somebody invested in me.
That's right. Mm.
And, you know, my reward, Doc, if you don't mind me, calling your name on air, but my reward, Dr. Winkler, is that when somebody walk up to me, I had a guy walk up to me one time in the Giants about 15 years ago, me and my wife.
Mm.
Matter of fact, Thanksgiving, a day before Thanksgiving,
Mm.
it's hot outside, and the brother got on a long trench coat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you can't stare at the young
Yeah.
cats
Right.
too long. So
Right.
he's
That's right.
staring at me.
Mm.
And he said, you remember me? And I said, well, come on, remember you from where? I know a lot of people, man.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
get to the point.
Yeah.
And he said, you Dr. Humphrey, aren't you?
Mm.
I said, yeah. And he said, open his coat. He had a Glock.
Mm.
He said, aren't you glad you was nice to me?
Wow.
And my
Yeah.
wife ran. I said,
Mm.
I said,
Yeah.
praise
Time to
God,
go.
brother. I said, praise God,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah.
They would run away, come
Yeah.
to my house.
Yeah.
When you invest in people,
Mm.
and I used to ride this young kid, a young
Mm.
boy down,
Mm.
and I used to tell him, I said, man, your problem is you burn bridges in life. You ain't got nobody to go to, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
guess what he told me?
Mm.
He said, I ain't burn bridges with God.
Yeah. Yeah.
I ain't never say that again.
Yeah. Mm.
So I invested in these guys. I saw
Mm.
that there was no follow up. And me and the staff one time, we threw
Mm.
down, Doc. We
Mm.
got into it
Mm.
because he told me, he said, you try and help these kids. He said, we don't want them to get no help. We want them to stay in there so we can keep a job.
Mm. Nah. Nah.
And,
Mm.
you know, when you offend, Jesus said, if you offend my least one, you done it to me.
That's right.
So I
Yeah.
seen the trauma in
Mm.
these kids because
Mm.
they weren't getting the mental health treatment that they needed.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah.
they popped them a few placebos
Right.
and
Right.
this and that.
Mm.
So that's where my work really began.
Mm.
It was nurtured there
Mm.
because there was something, when God birthed something in you,
Mm.
men can't carry a pregnancy, but when the Holy Spirit births something in you, it's gonna come forth.
That's right. That's right. I like that.
Yeah. So
You.
that's where it started, and
Mm.
and I said that when I'm on the street,
Mm.
I saw a homeless lady the other day
Mm.
on Gwen Fall and Charter Terrace. She had her legs folded like Indian style,
Mm.
eating the food in her lap.
Mm.
And because of mental health issues, they don't want no money. Some of them don't
Mm.
want no
Right.
money. They don't
Right.
want to go in no shelter.
Mm. Right. That's right.
And
Mm.
I tried to get a lady money. She ain't want it. So
Mm.
I was like, wow, it's a lot of mental health
Mm. Mm.
issues going on all over the world.
That's right.
And Doc, if it's
Mm.
not addressed,
Mm.
I'm telling you, it's gonna blow up.
Yeah. No, I believe that,
Yeah,
brother.
it's gonna blow up.
Yeah.
Cause you don't know what's on people's mind.
That's right. That's right.
I tell people all the time, you might bump into somebody,
Mm.
and the pandemic, the COVID,
Mm.
it had people bugging out.
Mm.
You go in Home Depot, ask for customer service. I
Mm.
mean, they getting out the
Yeah.
gate on you.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you
Mm.
gotta have the mindset that you gotta think for the other person, like you sharing with
Mm.
the squeezy kid,
That's
right?
right. That's
But they some of them
mm.
men.
Right.
I
Yeah.
ain't
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
but um it's the mindset. And I
Mm.
figured this part out. And Dr. Winkler, the three of us, hopefully we can figure the rest out. I understand why the mayor don't want to move these guys because some of them out there they feeding their family off
Right.
of that.
Mm.
But there's enough money in the city that came down from the American Rescue Fund and the COVID
Right.
and all that
Right.
that we got to reach these brothers.
Yeah.
Because if we
Mm.
don't,
Mm.
I responded to the 9-year-old young man who shot the 15-year-old girl.
Mm.
I respond to a lot of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they tell me that the young boy was coming through the neighborhood. He was looking for the little girl's brother. And he had the gun. And the older people, they knew it.
Mm.
So, they
Yeah.
people saying it's not my problem.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
everybody's
Right.
problem.
That's right. That's
In
right.
the same way when people label these young kids,
Mm.
these young guys, and I used to be one of those
Right.
people say they should, yeah, they in the right place. Throw them under the jail. They don't
Mm.
need.
Mm.
And my mother stopped me one day and said, "Ho, son, ho."
Mm.
Said, "Be careful.
Mm.
How soon you forget?" She
Mm.
said, "You once was one of them.
That's right. That's
So
right.
don't throw
Yeah.
nobody away. Don't
That's
write
right.
nobody off."
Mm.
I tell people, when you first read my book, I was going through something,
Mm.
but when you get to the third and fourth chapter, things
Mm.
was getting better.
Mm.
So I understand the plight. When I
Mm.
worked at Charles Hickey School, a woman was running, Miss
Mm.
Marjorie Brown,
Okay.
and she told me I didn't understand the plight of African American men. I had to go home.
Mm.
Remember the commercial, the shaving, where the man slapped
Yeah.
himself, say I
Yeah.
needed that.
Yeah.
I had to look at myself in the mirror.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
the age of 12 to 28, I
Mm.
never saw the street over a year in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a counselor at Charles Hickey, Maryland
Mm.
Children's Center, told me,
Mm.
said, because you don't get it,
Mm.
and even though some of us it take longer,
Mm.
he said, you're going to go through the juvenile justice system and you're going to get your high school diploma in city jail, and then you going to the big house.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
your past don't determine your future. That's
That's
why
right.
they call it your past.
That's right. That's
And I
right.
and I like people when they bring my past up. That's why
Mm-hmm.
when I was sharing it with Dr. Wing,
Mm-hmm.
I don't do it in a way um where I'm proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to show
Mm-hmm.
people that I'm the living witness and the example what
Mm-hmm.
God did in my life.
That's right, bro. I mean,
Yeah.
that's fair. What I'm saying is, you know, one of the, and I like when you said that if you don't tell your story, someone will tell it for you.
Grandma said they're gonna mess it up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And see, and and I subscribe to that philosophy because one thing that I've always done, I've always told my story. Uh, I'm not proud of what has happened to my life, but I'm
Right.
not ashamed
Absolutely.
because that was my path I had to walk.
Right.
But also, uh, no, I don't voluntarily tell it, but if someone asks me, I would tell them my story and I'd be very
Absolutely.
candid with them
Right.
because I think it's important for people to hear, particularly, young men and women who have made choices that have led to incarceration, who led to committing crimes, that they see that, again, I always go back to that you can change. One of the things that I shared this story with, I might have shared at the conference, but I shared it many times before. David Duke, the former
Ku
Grand
Klux
Wizard
Klan.
of
Yeah.
Ku Klux Klan,
Yeah.
I can remember sitting in prison. It
Yeah.
was in the 80s,
Wow.
watching the Phil Donahue show.
Wow.
And he was running for president. And the lady in the audience said, "Well, I don't believe you. What she said, I don't believe you. You can't change. No, leopard don't change his spot." And the response was, he said, "Ma'am, you have to, a leopard can't change their spot, but I'm a human being, and a person can change."
Mama.
And see, I like that.
Yeah.
Come from a grand wizard
Yeah.
dragon,
Yeah.
but the Quran, I got a bad witness to the truth. I'm not an animal.
Right.
No, sure, an animal can't change, but I'm a human being,
Right.
and I can change.
Right. Don't
And
equate me with an animal.
exactly,
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
and so then that speaks to the power of God. That none of us is so lost, is that we can't find a way, but we have to be willing to allow God to work within us, to be that vessel. So
But
I like when you talk about that, your experience and how, making choices, but realize that, well, look, there's something greater in me that I can be servicing. And you talked about unfortunately, the young kid, who shot, murdered the little girl. But it goes. But I want the audience, when, because I want to talk about trauma for a minute. As the brother is really talking about, his experience and what he has seen within Baltimore City. But I want us to have a clear understanding of what trauma really, what does that look like? What's happening with individual person? Because Dr. Humphrey talked about the mental health piece, and that is that is the key component. In our community, as you mentioned, there was elders in the community. That would never have been a time when I was a child. I can walk through my neighborhood with a gun, and an old person don't stop me in my tracks. That
absolutely.
that was that was unheard of.
Right.
That was clearly unheard. Matter of
Right.
fact, uh, uh, I wouldn't have got my hands on a gun, but if by chance I did get a gun and someone saw me and I'm walking, no, that never would
Mm,
have happened.
mm,
And I understand living in a different time. But I want to talk about trauma because I want to simplify to where we understand that when we talk about trauma, and according to the American Psychological Association, when they define trauma as a as an experience or an event that
mhm,
someone directly experienced, they directly experience this event,
mhm,
they hear about this event, or they witness this event that's caused so much psychological stress on them, they're no longer able to cope in a healthy way. I'm paraphrasing, what because I want to simplify to the degree that we understand. So literally, as I talked about on September the 4th, that when someone, so let's talk about this right here, what Dr. Humphrey just said is that he shows up at a scene, at where someone has been murdered,
mhm.
and he had to witness this. He didn't pull the trigger. He didn't hear about it. He's witnessing this. The Hump very easily could have said, "You know what? I can't do this anymore."
Yeah.
Many times some people make that decision because of what he saw. A young girl, a young boy, an elderly person shot, stabbed. It's so graphic that it caused a dis-ease within individual person, but psychologically they make a decision. I don't want to experience anything like this. So this was a witness event. Grateful to the community of Baltimore, Dr. Humphrey said, "Well, look, I'm gonna push, even though it impacts me, but I'm going to push through this." But some people may say, "You know what? I'm not going to do this anymore." And the grandparents or the elders in the community who saw the young boy with that gun walking through the community, they are traumatized themselves because they understand, and rightfully so, that they didn't know I could lose my life. The young boy possibly could shoot me. I bring harm to myself. All that has to do with trauma that we are incurring within ourselves. But now, how do we deal with that? Because we have to understand what we are facing. So when we're in that situation where we have become traumatized to the degree that we're either we remove ourselves from society, it does not do any, it does not help us because what we're doing, we're aiding in sense of the will only to affect our mental health, but what's taking place in our community. And I would argue that one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why our community, when I say our community, the African American community, particularly in certain neighborhoods, is being impacted the way it is because, as the brother mentioned, use the word, they're in a war zone. I talked about that. And when you're in a war zone, you are what? Now, what happens in a war zone? Two things I want to talk about. One is, and I'm get it back to Dr. Brown, but I want us to be clear what we're dealing with in Baltimore City and throughout Baltimore and out the United States. There's a in your autonomic nervous system, we call it a parasympathetic nervous system and a sympathetic nervous system. When you think about a soldier who's engaged in battle, because he's engaged in battle to the point of killing someone, what happens is there's go and the parasympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system,
Yes.
or I would say the sympathetic nervous system, goes into in that primal state, if you will, where it becomes very alert. In that state, what happens is, you heard the term there, the fight, they flee, or they freeze.
Yeah, fight, flight, or freeze.
Fight,
Absolutely.
flight, or freeze. So
Absolutely.
what happens is that soldier, because his sympathetic nervous system has kicked in, what take place, start breathing fast, his pupils dilate, his nostrils fly up, he's at a very alert state. Now think of that same kid in Baltimore City. He's in a situation where now his sympathetic nervous system has kicked in, where he's in a flight mode, a fight mode, or a freeze mode. Very height. So now we see these kids, we understand why they seem to be so angry all the time. Because what is happening is many of those young kids, they're stuck in that sympathetic state, if you will, in a very alert stage. In a very alert stage, engaging, confrontational, because what the difference is when the soldier come home, he go through a debriefing because he's been in that state of war, say 12 months, 18 months.
Absolutely.
So they had to bring him down.
Been programmed.
These young kids, they aren't being debriefed, they aren't being taught in the way that they should be, so they stay within that state. So it's easy to get on the bus, accidentally bump into one, there's a conflict. Walk down the street, why are you looking at me like this? Because what happens over a period of time, the stress on your prefrontal cortex becomes so impacted by the psychological stress of carrying that trauma, say within you, it weakens your ability to make rational decisions.
Absolutely.
So that just kind of in a nutshell, because I want us to be clear about. So when we're dealing with a lot of these young kids, they're in a state of alertness because unfortunately they're not being reached in a way to bring them down, if you will, from that alert state. If you think about you putting you start a car up, when you put your feet on the acceleration, and it's at a very high pitch, and you release it off, it kind of, it goes down. See, that's what's happening with the young boys. That trauma is like that acceleration that is stuck, and they're at a very high pace, and they have to. We got to figure out how do we release, bring them down in a way that where they can get back to more. We call the parasympathetic nervous system, meaning that now they're they're going back to a state of ease, if you will. So I just want to share it with all where they be clear about on top of now keep in mind this brother, saying this, probably, 2 or 3 times a day, every week, every month, every year of this trauma, but yet having the resolve. And he can share, how he gets through that. But the point I want to stress is that within Baltimore City, because the topic is violence, traumatized, and the search for answers. And that's what we're here this morning. So, what are the answers? We know we see the trauma. You talked about the trauma, and but you touched on a little bit. You talked about the political side, the money piece
Right.
of it.
Well, Dr. Radlin, people all over the world makes money off of other people's pain.
That's right.
If the truth be told, um, and I don't have no problem telling,
Yeah, tell it, brother.
speaking out,
Yes, sir.
they don't want to stop crime.
Yeah, I
It's
believe
too
that.
much money made in it.
Mm.
And you touched on something very deep, and it give you some of the answers because people don't understand that, like you say, the cortex and the parts of the brain and the different types of trauma that people deal with, the complex trauma, vicarious trauma. There's what you call, where there's PTSD, you have urban trauma syndrome.
Right. Mm.
And what happens with that is that if you grew up in the hood,
Mm.
It's a difference between the hood and the ghetto.
That's right.
You can call anywhere your hood.
Right.
There's a difference between a neighborhood and a community.
Right.
So if any black person came up in the hood and the survival rate where there's no resources, there's none of that, and it's a survival mode, like you said. So these kids, a lot of them, I'm not justifying them, but a lot of the young people carry guns because they're fearful.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, they're
That's right.
fearful, and it starts at an early age. If you watch some of the younger mothers, um, any mother can deliver a baby, but all mothers are not mothers.
Right. That's right.
You see them the first of the month, Dr. Winkler, when they get their check, they dragging them.
Mm.
Come
Mm.
on, you little bastard, and
Right.
hitting them in the chest.
Mm.
You gotta be tough.
Right.
You don't supposed to cry. So this is what they believe. They believe they have to be hard.
Right.
But then after they see so much, people don't understand when the mindset and you're exposed to trauma. I taught a class, and a young lady told me that you can be healed from trauma. No, you cannot. You can
Mm.
learn to cope,
Yeah.
but you
Mm.
can't heal from
I
trauma.
like that.
Yeah, because there's triggers.
Right. That's right.
Even with my son, if I could sit here right now and watch a Marine
Mm.
movie,
Mm.
I have no control over my emotions,
Right.
and tears will just start coming down
Mm.
my eyes because it brings back memories
That's right.
of my
Mm.
son.
Mm.
But people don't understand that the reason why a lot of our young people are so quick to kill is because the mindset, and it's in that training that I
Mm.
gave you. It shows the ages of prunity when your mind starts to develop. That's
Mm.
why the little 9-year-old boy won't be charged for murder
Right.
because his mind haven't fully developed
Mm.
where he can acknowledge, oh, he knew he
Right.
did
Right.
wrong.
That's right. That's
But
right.
I'm saying the process is a
Mm.
process in trauma.
Mm.
But what happens is that a lot of these kids that's crack cocaine babies,
Mm.
and when I was a landlord, some of the parents would scrape the lead paint off the wall and put it in the cornflakes and tell the kids to eat it so they can have the blood
Mm.
level
Mm.
in their
Man,
system so they can
yeah,
get money.
yeah,
So they're dealing with so
yeah,
many
yeah,
issues
yeah,
in that
yeah.
um, they haven't been taught. I was blessed. I had 9 uncles,
Mm.
and most of them was military.
Mm.
And my mother's oldest brother, he was certified crazy for
Mm.
real, and that's
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
trying to get, but because he hear car
Mm.
like you said,
Mm.
they got to be deprogrammed,
Mm.
backfired. Everybody hit the deck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get down. It's
Mm.
it's a mind. Let me put it this way: a lot of our young kids deal with what you call learned behavior,
Right. That's right.
and if you don't teach them
Mm.
that there's a better way. If you don't teach them to respect other people's property, they'll do stuff right in front of you. They might
Mm.
take the key
Mm.
and key your
Right.
car
That's right. Yeah.
and dare you to say something.
Mm.
That's because they haven't been taught.
Right.
And
Mm.
I was taught that if you know right, you're supposed to do right.
That's right.
So
Mm.
there's a chemistry and a chemical in the brain, and you touched on it so profound, Dr. Bradley, that when it goes off,
Mm.
my brother was bipolar,
Mm.
schizophrenic, and
Mm.
chemically unbalanced.
Mm.
You would never know it if he was
Mm.
on his medicine.
Right.
But when he was off his medicine,
Mm.
he would call me 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey,
Mm.
bro, what you
Mm.
doing?
Mm.
I said, what you think I'm doing this time of night? I'm trying to sleep. Oh,
Yeah.
man, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
Walk, Dr. Winkler, walked through the graveyard, but guess what? He had the Bible on his arm.
Mm.
And God protected him through his
Yeah.
grace and mercy.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say, from the young age, he went going back and forth to the hospital
Mm.
for alcoholism.
Mm. Okay.
And I told him one day, you can see all the counselors you want
Mm.
until you make up your mind,
Mm.
until you become sick and tired of being
Mm.
sick and tired of being
Right.
sick and tired.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wasn't trying to be a repeat offender.
Mm.
The institutionalized, when
Mm.
people institutionalize 3 hots in the cot.
Mm.
And I had a cousin. His name was Pickles, but they called him Alfonso Selfless. When he wanted to go to jail, man, he go downtown, they take a brick, throw it through the window.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then he go
Yeah.
back
Mm.
and holler up to the warden.
Mm.
And who's that? It's Pickles. Let him in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we
That's good thing.
understand that if
Yeah.
these brothers don't get that help,
Yeah.
when they get into the battles and their chemicals,
Mm.
there's chemicals in the brain
Mm.
the same way that a woman goes through menopause, hot
Mm.
flashes, and all
Right.
that.
Mm.
These young kids,
Mm.
is so much that's going on. They say,
Mm.
well, what's wrong? Why is this? Why is that? No respect.
Mm.
And far as love, you can't give something you never
Mm.
been given.
Right. Right.
You know, my father never told me
Mm.
he loved me, but he showed me.
Right. That's right.
So this war, that's what it is. It's an epidemic.
Mm.
I work for John Hopkins. Kennedy Craig ain't getting it. You
Mm.
know, misdiagnose our kids. If he violent, talk back to his mother, put him on Prozac.
Right.
If he
Right.
did, put him on Ritalin.
Mm.
So there's a lot of things. Um, I can go into, you know, the different parts of the brain and the
Mm.
different types of trauma and all
Mm.
that. But I'm saying we got to put the category where it fit,
That's right. That's right. Mm.
you know, because a lot of these young men, they do have mental health issues.
Right. Mm.
Now, Doc, this is where we come in at.
Mm.
Um, I had a guy that I wanted to take off campus. You know, I used to get him
Mm.
jobs and
Mm.
stuff. And he told me, he said, Dr. Humphrey, he said, this guy on my job, man, you know, he keep telling me what to do.
Mm.
I said, what you mean? He said, you know, every morning I show up, you know, he tell me what to do. I said, well, what's his title? He said, he my supervisor. I said, well, that's what he's supposed to do.
Right. Mm.
But they but they don't think that way.
Right. Right.
And see, same way with the brothers
Mm.
that's on this macho thing.
Mm. Mm.
You know, they get out and the boss tell them to do something they don't
Mm.
like, man. They
Mm.
resort back to
Mm.
when you was in the joint.
Right.
Now you and I can talk about it
Mm.
because sometimes I find myself, you know, we
Mm.
talked
Right.
about
Right.
that.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
find myself with my
Mm-hmm.
long johns on, you know,
Yeah.
going. Like, we hit on
Look good.
we look.
Mm.
There's things
Mm.
that you and I relatable on,
Right. That's right.
right?
That's right.
When you away, Dr. Winkler, from not hearing a phone ring,
Mm.
hearing a baby cry,
Mm.
there's some
Yeah. Yeah.
sensitive
Yeah.
things that happen.
Right.
The
That's
smell of certain food,
right.
you know.
Mm.
You know, when I came on, my mother used to say, "I don't call feet up." You know, I
Yeah.
fix the food.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, but we're used to that. We're
Right.
programmed. We're systematically
That's right.
programmed. And then if we say we know we eat at a certain time,
Mm.
and the child ain't there, you know,
Mm.
we ready to tear something up.
Right. That's right.
So the young people,
Mm.
if we don't invest in them and grab them in time, and
Mm.
I don't have nothing personal against the little boy who became
Right.
king, Brandon Scott,
Mm.
because he's a little boy himself.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
Mm.
he's a bright, intelligent guy. But somewhere down the
Mm.
line, somebody need to grab him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
need he need a
Mm.
mentor
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's in a position, and I can understand he don't
Mm.
want to take him off the corner,
Mm.
but you got to handle it a
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree, Dr. Humphrey. One of the things that you touched on, we talked about for Brent, the Mayor Scott. I think that was I'm called a town hall meeting. That was a
Yeah.
meeting that took place. I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I saw it on Fox 45, and they was interviewing one. I think it was only one protester that was out holding up a sign,
Right.
and so the reporter asked the gentleman, say, "Well, okay, then why are you here?" And I like what he said. He said, "Well, look, I just don't understand why we're allowing children to make decisions for us, for adults."
Absolutely.
He said, "I understood, and my and in hearing that, at some point, I'm saying I'm talking about the adults, the
Hmm.
elders, the men in the community, the women. We have to get back to the position where we're making decisions for the kids because it's out of order when children are making those. Unfortunately, what we're seeing, say in some of the community, not all, but some of the
Hmm.
communities, that the children are making decisions because they really don't, as you described, they don't have the guidance or they're not ready to receive the guidance. So what? So how do we create an environment that where we're able to reach the children in a way that where we're providing sustainable access to resources that would allow them to mature in an environment that where they're making better decisions.
That's an excellent point. Um, I don't believe in the word rehabilitation. I
Mm,
think that's a scientific word that was put together by man, because you can put all the resources in a person's path that you had, but until they ready that
mm,
they want to change, I'm that person.
right, that's right.
You know, when I went to Hagerstown, the man said, "You got to work, go to school, or
Mm,
take up a trade." And, you know, I'm going hard
mm,
at 18 years old.
yeah, yeah,
I ain't come up here to work, player. You
Yeah,
know, I'm a
yeah,
convict.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
convicts do time. Inmates follow the rules.
That's right.
But when they broke it down,
Mm,
say, you know, we've been doing this for a long time. And man threw me in the hole. Say, when you ready to
mm,
make up your mind to play by our rules,
yeah, yeah.
then we can make something happen.
Mm,
So one thing that I know for a fact, God did not give us a spirit of fear, but power and love and the sound mind. These
mm,
cats know that the people is terrified of them.
right, right. That's right.
Yeah,
Mm,
so you know, brothers like us,
mm.
we more afraid that what we
We
might
do
do,
right. That's
because that's
it. Yeah,
something that's
that's
been
it. Yeah, yeah,
instilled in
yeah,
us. The
yeah,
same, the
yeah,
same
yeah.
mindset. I just turned 66, and you just had a birthday,
Mm,
and you know certain things in the neighborhood. You ain't come in my neighborhood coming
mm,
up, and I grew up not too far,
mm,
2800 block of Harford Road, Fenwick Avenue. You
mm,
ain't come in my neighborhood selling no dope.
yeah,
I was a
mm,
member of the Black October.
mm,
We ran you up out of there.
yeah.
But I'm saying if you don't stand for something, you'll
Right.
fall for
That's
anything.
right. That's
So
right.
we have to you because the laws have changed where we can't discipline our children. Please allow me to say
Yes,
this
sir.
alive.
Yes, sir.
My daughter was 14 years old, and I said something to her. She told me talk to the hands because
Mm,
the
mm,
ears not listening.
right.
And you know what I did?
Yeah,
I put
yeah,
it through the wall
yeah, yeah.
because any child I raise ain't gonna
Yeah,
disrespect me.
that's right. That's right.
That's old school.
That's right.
But I'm saying my wife's great grandmother, bless her heart, Miss Josephine Pittman, lived to be 100 years old,
Mm,
and she would say, "If you play with a puppy, he lick you in the face."
that's right.
And
Mm,
so my
mm,
mother, you said it, who's the adult and who's the child?
right.
She would hear me and my son going back and forth. She said, "Oh, wait a minute, you know, ain't no room for no
Mm,
debate.
mm,
He don't have no options.
yeah,
You
yeah,
are you if you the father,
right,
act like the father."
right.
My grandfather had 13 children, nine
Mm,
sons. He would tell his brother, "If you can't be the man, take your pants off and give them to your wife."
right. That's
So
right. Yeah,
we
yeah,
men
yeah,
must stand
yeah.
up,
That's
doc.
right. That's right.
We got to stand up.
That's
It's
right.
an easy fix.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
It's an
I
easy.
agree.
It's
I
look.
agree.
I'm telling you,
I agree.
if I could get brothers like yourself
Mm,
and the ones we had in the room,
yeah,
like
yeah,
Celine and all them
yeah,
guys, I looked up to them,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Because when I was young, I didn't listen, and I was so ornery.
Mm,
If you put a Bible in my hand, I burn it up,
yeah, yeah.
you know. But
Mm,
I'm saying God was in my biggest fear that I would die in prison.
mm, mm,
That was my biggest fear.
yeah.
And my grandmother instilled in me at an early age. She said, if any man, boy, or girl die and do not accept Jesus Christ as their personal savior, you know
Mm,
where you're going.
right, right.
So I
Mm,
seen brothers
mm,
die
mm,
over cigarettes,
yeah,
over
yeah.
Lord Debbie's.
Right. That's right.
You know, I was in the Mountain House of Correction. I
Mm,
woke up, they killed his brother and
mm,
wrapped him up in a sheet, put him under my bed. I
yeah,
seen it's a
yeah, yeah.
war zone.
Right.
You
That's right.
said it.
That's right.
So
That's what it is.
how do you survive a war zone?
Mm,
You don't sleep.
yeah.
You get in the beef with yourself, buddy.
Mm, mm,
You know, one of y'all better
Get my
sleep with
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
one eye open, one eye
That's right.
closed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
to reach these young guys, you cannot tell them put down drugs and
Mm,
stop acting the way they
mm.
acting unless you have
Nothing
something to
to give 'em.
replace,
That's
something to
it.
give
That's
them.
it. That's it.
Teach a man
Mm,
how to fish, and he'll learn how to survive and
yes,
eat the rest of his
yes,
life.
right.
So I'm a go getter.
Mm, mm,
You know, I ain't caught up in all that that gang. See, the gang showed them false love.
right. That's right.
That's why they so eager
Mm,
to
mm,
to get
yeah, that's
involved.
right.
I used to go and get guys in the BGF, the Crips of Blood, and all that gangsters. Say, guys said, "Man, don't go down there.
Mm,
Don't go down there.
mm,
Come on, man. I gotta go that way home. What am I?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
If I get to the point where I gotta stay in the house, I can't walk the streets.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm not mistaken, they had somebody got killed not far, right?
Mm,
Yeah, up the street somewhere. Yeah, so
mm,
that was a friend of mine, relative.
mm,
Yeah, so to answer your question, Doctor, to be clear, we got to change the mindset.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Once we change the mindset, a lady, a lady asked her dog one day, how did he like being chained up? He said, long as I have a shady spot, I don't mind.
Mm.
So it's the
Yeah, yeah,
mindset,
yeah,
just
yeah,
like a pig pen.
yeah.
You make a pen. I'm not
Mm,
talking like Rawlins Blake say,
mm,
if you can't deal with your children, put them back on the farm. And
yeah,
she caught a lot of flack from that
yeah,
too.
yeah.
But I'm not equating our people with pigs. But
Mm,
if you clean up a pig pen,
mm,
he dirty it back up.
yeah, yeah. That's right.
So we, this is what bothers me. And please allow me to say this.
Mm,
people put these politicians in office, keep putting the same
Right.
people in there, the
Mm,
same people.
mm,
I told a group yesterday, I come on WOLB2
mm,
radio sometimes. I used to have my own radio show.
mm,
Um, Sam Cooke
mm.
had a song I called "A Change Gonna Come."
That's right. Yeah.
Now, if
Mm.
you want change, be the change. You
Right.
can't
Yeah.
change
Yeah. Yeah.
everything suddenly,
Mm.
but be the change
Yeah.
you want to be.
Mm,
You know, if you don't like the way something is
mm,
done,
mm,
the alley's
mm,
dirty, when the trash man don't
mm,
come,
mm.
stop putting a trash out there.
Yeah. That's
The
right.
trash breed rats.
That's right.
Crime, grime, and crime
Mm,
go
mm, mm.
together.
Right.
So
Right.
we got to educate.
Mm,
I shut down Charles Hickey School,
mm,
downsized, and also Shelpman,
mm. Okay.
PG County.
Okay.
So I mean, I know,
Mm,
and I didn't tell you this. I was the one that shut down the South Wing in the penitentiary.
okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I know. I
You did.
know.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
said they said I was pop. I was
Mm,
too popular.
mm,
I mean, cause I had look.
mm,
I must say this.
mm,
My blessing, God blessed me. That energy that I had, that
mm,
I could manipulate
mm,
guys and
mm,
play. Well, I never
mm,
played
mm,
territory east or
mm,
west,
mm,
but I'm saying get stuff stirred up.
mm, mm.
In seminary, they used to call me the 21st century Apostle Paul. So God took that
Yeah,
energy.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
know the
yeah,
story
yeah,
about
yeah,
Paul.
yes, sir,
He
yes,
took that energy,
yeah,
Dr. Winkler,
mm,
and turned into, he said, put it into a positive mode.
that's right,
And that's what I do.
mm,
Because when I go places, you're not going to change my
mm,
character
yeah, yeah,
because you
yeah,
miserable
yeah,
and
yeah,
sad.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
taking I'm taking my
yeah,
light with
yeah,
me.
that's right,
We got
yeah,
to shine our light.
yeah, that's it. I know I like when you talk about that, and it's you touched on so much, in talking about some of your past experience as well as some of the work that you're doing,
Thank
and
you.
when we talk about these young boys out there, because I'm a firm believer, as I've shared with men like yourself, Dr. Winkler, my family, my children, my wife. My thing is this right here. There are primary role that men have in
Absolutely.
society. And the primary role is that we are the protectors of the community. We're the protectors of our family. We're protectors of our children. So we nurture that environment. What we're seeing today is that we're out of order because the male role,
You
and
said it.
the male role has changed along with uh, a lot of the I'm gonna call the mental health issues that particularly black men are dealing with in our community.
Absolutely. That's the
We
biggest part.
talked about, like say, went from a time when our parents could discipline us to now children are telling their parents, "No, you can't touch me, you can't hit me. I'll call 911."
That's
And
right.
the courts support that. What I would think is a bad decision.
Hmm.
Whereas if you do, then you can, basically be arrested.
That's right.
The child can be taken out of the home. So that's been impacted. I talk about there's three areas. There's the family, there's the school, and there's the church. There's
Hmm.
always been three institutions in our community that reinforce the value system. Of course,
Right.
that has changed.
Right.
So the problem is overwhelming.
The church is not opening now. A lot of them.
No,
People ain't going back to church.
it's because for a
You said
variety
it.
for
That's
a
you said
variety
it.
of reasons.
Right.
And so my
Exactly.
thing is this right here is okay. Well, look, okay, we know that what we're dealing. We just take Baltimore City. We take Baltimore City, and no, and what we're dealing with in Baltimore. This is where we are. So you work where you are. You say you put down your bucket where you are.
Hmm.
So my thing is this right here is that first one of the things you talked about what we have to do is that you have to become the change that you want.
Absolutely.
And so like you're doing that, I'm doing that because that's one of the reasons why I have the bullpen. I said, well, look,
People
okay,
don't even know what bullpen talking about.
I know, I know,
Yeah, we know.
we know exactly what it is.
That's right.
So my thing I said, well, look,
Dr. Larry.
you know, what can I do? That was
Right,
one of the
right.
reasons why I got involved. In mental health, became a therapist, and the work going inside the prison
So you
work,
can help people.
so I can help people. I
Absolutely.
think, and now it's okay. Well, because like yourself, you see the trauma, you hear it on the news. I see it, I hear about it, and we say, well, and it's overwhelming. It really is
But doc,
overwhelming.
but please allow me
Mm,
to say this. You asked me how do I deal with my trauma. At
mm,
one point, I used to go down to medical examiner's office like twice a week and see
mm,
so many young kids with
yeah,
their face
yeah,
blown off.
yeah, yeah,
Young kids, 13, 14, gang members, throat split, and was taking it home
yeah,
to
yeah,
my
yeah,
wife.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what she
yeah,
said?
yeah.
Don't bring that
Can't
here.
bring that home, man.
No.
Yeah. No, it's
And
just
our families,
yeah.
do your family really understand you or know you?
No, no,
No.
no, 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 no. Actually, they don't. They don't.
No, no.
No.
See? Yeah, right.
Because it's in your block. Because I was telling another brother, I was saying that where I they, I know we be brothers and sisters, but my relationship with me that I was in prison with, that we have a relationship, that we have a relationship whereas that they know more about who I am as a person
Right.
than my own biological brother, because
Absolutely.
the
The
years of
experience.
experience
Right.
exactly,
In the
and
trenches.
exactly, and so to my family, they love me, they care about me, but they literally don't know me,
Right.
and I understand it. So I try to, I not try, but what I do is that be the kind of brother that I feel that I should be with them, even though I understand they really don't know me.
You're gonna laugh when I tell you this. Brother Yaya was texting me, he wanted to meet, and he kept going back and forth. And I told him, I said, man, come, you bring me a South Wing move.
Yeah,
He said, man, we talk. He said that was then.
yeah, yeah,
I said, well, be straight. What
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
be clear what you want.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm saying we
You
kid
know, yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Because
Mm.
I think we go all the way back to down the Cheltenham days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
He
know,
told, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we
yeah.
I see some people,
Mm,
some guys get offended.
mm,
When I was trying to help a brother yesterday, and the lady running for House of Delegate wanted to give him a job, and the first thing she asked him,
mm,
we in the meeting, Doctor Winkler, and he thought
mm,
I ain't peeping, but
mm,
before we got to the meeting, he always want to borrow $20.
mm.
Now
Yeah,
we know what that's about,
yeah,
but I
yeah,
ain't passing judgment on him.
yeah,
So he in the meeting where somebody can help him,
mm,
and
yeah, yeah.
so the
Nah,
lady asked him. He said he been clean. She
mm,
said, "How long you been clean?"
mm,
I said, "Look, man, be straight up with the
mm,
lady,
mm.
cause if you know you can't pass the urine test, don't even
Yeah,
ask for
yeah,
no
right,
job."
right,
Oh,
right.
he
That's
went off on me,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
cause I hit a nerve. But I told
Mm-hmm.
him, man, don't waste my time.
Yeah. No,
I'm
you're
here to
right.
help.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And see, we some of us, I don't want to put no stigma on nobody. Um, some people run con and game because that's what they have to do to survive.
Right, right,
That's all they know.
right.
So
Mm,
we can teach them. Who made that statement? It's better to repair a broken man than Frederick Douglass.
same thing. Think Frederick
Yeah,
Douglass.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
the young people, we can work with them.
mm,
But when we get these cats that's
mm,
stuck in their ways, and
mm,
Tunnel Joe dug his way out the penitentiary with a
mm,
spoon.
mm,
But when he went in there, I think they ain't had too many cars. They might have had
right,
horse and buggy,
right.
and he couldn't deal with it. He
Mm,
came back to the penitentiary
yeah,
knocking on the door.
yeah. That's right.
So
Yeah.
it's the mindset.
Mm,
And what I love about the academias, and you brought it up, Dr. Winkler, is that the privilege, Caucasian kid, man, they hear some of these horror stories. They terrified.
yeah, yeah.
Now, I was in Florida on a vacation when the series of The Wire first started, and that depicts Baltimore in a very negative
Mm,
way.
mm,
And a lady like was in her 90s, and she saw the Maryland tags. She said, young man, are you from Baltimore? I said, yes, ma'am. Do you watch The Wire? I said,
mm, yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
we can get we if we get the right people,
Mm,
get these platforms
mm,
going. I
mm,
mean, whatever y'all need me to do,
mm,
I don't have no problem.
mm. No, no,
I don't
no.
have no problem.
Because that's and I'm glad you talked about that in terms of what we can do, because one of the things that that I like to do is not only just bring men on like yourself to talk about your experience and the work that you're doing, but what are some of the solutions. So, and as I share with the audience, I know right now it can it's overwhelming to a lot of families that are out there. You have sons that maybe are not going to school. You're talking about mothers who have young sons that maybe not
Hmm.
going to school. Uh, son may be incarcerated. You have wives out there whose husband is formerly incarcerated. You have daughters.
They doing a bit too, Doc.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So my thing is this right here. We have to start somewhere. There has to be a buy-in, has to be an investment
got to
in
buy in.
terms of
Absolutely.
your commitment to this work that we're talking about doing. So this is my appeal to those who are out there. Let's start. One is, and before the show's in, I'm gonna tell you can reach me, Dr. Humphrey, give his information, because one of the things that I saw that unfortunately in the African American community, one of the disservices that I hear in African American communities that we talk too much.
Absolutely.
I get that. I totally understand what you mean by that. There's a lot of talking in the community. But the other side of that is when I worked for the federal government for 20 years,
Wow.
you know, Dr. Humphrey talked about that was a time period from the age of 13 up until I think 44, 45. That was never a 2 year period in my life that I wasn't in either jail, prison, probation, parole.
We shared something to say.
You know,
I don't mean to
for,
laugh, but
33 years.
yeah.
Now, I haven't done 30 years in prison, but for 33 years, I was a part of the criminal justice system in
Wow.
one form or another for 33 years. So what I'm saying is, when I got out of prison, I'm show you how God works. When I got out of prison in 1994, in 1997, uh, I was in I was in graduate school, getting my master's in counseling education. My professor, to make a long story short, he was director of we call it the Department of Training Development, military police school, and they were looking for interns because some of the older federal workers were retiring, and they wanted to bring in fresh new blood, if you
Right.
will. I taught the name of Dr. Charles Notar, Jacksonville State University, Jacksonville, Alabama, my college professor. So I said, well, look, Dr. Notar, I saw on the board that, there's a job opportunity I'd like to apply for, but here's my story. I said, I'm on parole.
Right.
I got out in
You
94.
straight up with him.
I'm on parole. I'm on parole for armed robbery, assault. I gave him the whole spiel. Do I have a chance? He said, let me look into it. If you do, I'll come back, let you know. He said, well, look, came back uh, because the job that you're applying for is more along communication in English. It doesn't stop you from applying. Certain jobs, because of my background, I would never get in the federal government. He told me that.
Wow.
Because of my background. But this particular job is education. It's in the education field, so you qualify for that. He said, this is what I do. You apply for the job, you had to score 80 points to even be considered for an interview. He said, if you get an interview, I give you the job.
My.
Now, I got a 12-year history, nothing in there filled up because I was in the penitentiary. I applied to this day. I don't even remember what I wrote.
The favor of God.
I wrote something.
Yeah.
I still got the letter.
Right.
I scored 81 points.
The favor of God.
81 points.
Favor is not fair, but somebody got to get it.
That's right.
That's favor.
I scored 81 points. I worked from July 1997 up until September the 28th, 2017. Worked for 20 years.
Wow.
Now,
Praise
prior
God.
to that, I might have worked maybe a week and quit the job, go back to the street.
Yeah.
20 years straight. I'm saying this to say this right here is that in that 20-year history working for the federal government, I worked for 13 years, 13 years with the Department of the Army, 7 years with the Department of the Navy that I worked for. Every day, them people sat down, they had meetings and they talked. I'm bringing it because in our community, we say we talk too much. The military, they talk every day. They strategize every day.
Right.
It's a 24/7 cycle that they come together on some level and discuss a 5-year plan,
Yeah,
a 10-year plan.
Strategic planning.
Strategic planning.
Yes, sir.
We got to get to a position where we talk. But now they have solutions because they implement, have the resources. My point is this right here. We have to start with a conversation because we have to know what we're talking about. We got Dr. Humphrey, we got Dr. Winkler, we got myself, we got other men who have an expertise that we can bring to the table to have to start with a conversation, but have create a plan. Because as I stated, we're not going to get back to where we need to get back to until the men in the community. No, we got men in. Don't get me wrong. We got brothers doing great work. Individually, we doing great work. We have our individual work that we're doing, and all that is great. But to really reach, because we got to present a model that these young boys.
You said it. I saw my uncles go to work.
Yeah.
In order to be a man,
yeah,
you got me the man.
You got to see this,
and
man.
You got to have the approach determine the outcome. And you got to know how to approach them, brother. You said it.
Yeah.
A conversation.
Yeah.
Because they know if you ain't real.
They know. They
run
know,
you
man.
out of town.
And so that's my thing. And I'm just simply saying is that let's start with the conversation, that we're having, because like I do every time we meet inside the bullpen, I give my information. We have another brother, who's going to share his information. We had several of them who are doing work in the community. But what I'm saying is, I'm looking at a larger picture here. But I'm saying this, already, I don't know the exact number, but I think we're probably over 200 plus murders already.
275.
And I will argue,
6 years straight.
and I haven't seen the statistics,
Right.
but based off of historical information, that 90% of emergencies by young black males.
Yeah.
I would say young and middle-aged black males who on other black males. So you double that, then with the family that are impacted by that, that is too much trauma in Baltimore City.
Yes,
They
it
have to
is.
go for year after year. Unfortunately, Commissioner Ham, Mayor Brandon Scott, the soon-to-be the Ivan Bates State's Attorney, if they knew what, now I'm saying this in a respectful way. The reason why a lot's not happening because they literally don't know. None of us really know what to do, to be candid with. We have ideas about what to do, but the problem is so large, we don't have an effective plan. I put it that way.
And
No, and these are smart men. These not no, but we got to have an effective plan, and there has to be a working relationship that will say, well, look, how do we begin to address these issues? And you said it best yourself is that men who have been in these positions, meaning that who have the background, who been in prison, who committed crimes, who grew up in, who understand the mindset, just say from a street level, if you will. We got to get these men involved to
right.
reach these kids.
Yep.
They have to play a role.
Right.
Now, got it. They have expertise that now they don't have expertise that like someone who's been trained, like the medical doctor, obviously. The educators, we all got a role to play, but we cannot exclude these men from the table anymore. We have to bring them to the table. We have to pick their, like we say, we got to pick their minds, if you will, get the information,
Yeah.
but at
See.
the
Yeah.
same time, but we got to utilize them in a way that where they feel value. And the bigger picture is how do we reach these young brothers out there?
But Doc, let me say this. The gentleman who started Safe Streets, he was in the penitentiary, Leon Farouk.
Okay.
And I love the brothers from
Mm,
DC. But,
mm,
they kept money,
mm,
and they used to share their money and tell me. I was one that put the beefs out
mm,
between the DC boys and Timmy
mm,
Food and all
mm,
them guys. They were my friends.
okay.
East Baltimore guys go up there and rob and all that. I tell them, man, we got to live in there together.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right.
But I like what you said. I believe that if we come together, and when you get a chance, there's some people I want you to meet. Sister Dr. J, she got a community church that she have on Saturdays, but it's not so not like tradition like
Mm,
regular church.
mm,
People come in off the street at
mm,
the Cultural Arts Center on 401
mm.
Howard Street, right
Got
there in
you.
Marlboro,
Right.
and find out. I seen her online. She was
Mm,
teaching about trauma.
mm,
She caught my attention, so
mm,
I just learned how to inbox
okay.
and told her to call me. And
Yeah.
the sister called me,
Okay.
and I went down there,
Mm,
and she told me, she said, I wanna shadow you. I want to know what you know. I said,
mm,
but that you gonna be doing a lot of shadowing,
yeah. Mm,
But I would like for us to bring this thing to the forefront. Yourself, Dr. Winkler, because um, money is not gonna solve
yeah. Yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I know we can do it.
Yeah, no,
I know we can.
yeah, no. So like I said, the resource, like I say, Baltimore City got, like I say, they got money. They got money. They got no, they have the talent, they have the expertise. But I'm saying, but now we just have to have an
Yeah,
effective.
stop sending for people out of
Yeah,
town. You got people right here can do the
just
job.
gotta have an effective plan because it's not a lack of money, it's
Right.
not a lack of talent because you got right here in Baltimore City talented people on both sides of the track, if you will, that bring a level of expertise, to a plan that is needed in order to begin to reach a lot of these young brothers. So I know we know we kind of bring it to a close. So Dr. Humphrey, so one is how can if someone to reach out to you, how can they reach you?
I give you my personal cell number. It's 443-418-8898. I give it to you again, 443-418-8898. Um, because of the young people allow me to work with them. I understand their language. I know their mindset. I had many young people when the staff treated them wrong. They told me we're gonna step to them. We're gonna deal with them.
Mm,
Told me come in late that day,
mm,
and I never had a kid to jump on me. Like Doc, you said it so clearly and so profound. We got to invest in them. We got to not exclude them. We got to bring them to the
right,
table.
that's right. Mm,
Because they're our future.
that's right.
When my
That's
mother
it.
was
Yeah,
in the nursing
yeah,
home,
yeah,
I mean, some of the young age, carried her so bad. I'd say you're gonna get old one day.
yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Mm,
So you get back what you put out.
That's right.
So I've invested a lot in this city. Never in my 63 years, Baltimore has never been seen like this. It's because of the mindset.
Yeah, yeah.
All the commissioners, I go all the way back to Bishop Robinson Day. He was my mentor. The
Mm,
man named that got on the headquarters
right,
down
right, right,
police
right.
department.
Mm,
I talked to a lot of commissioners. Me and Commissioner Harrison, we cordial.
mm,
But I mean, he was brought here for one purpose to get that dissent decree under control.
mm,
And I believe he could do a better job if
mm,
the mayor, Brandon Scott, don't know nothing about being no police commissioner.
right, right.
Yeah,
Mm,
stop tying the man hands up. You
mm,
see, he have a police shirt on.
mm,
You got a DPW shirt. Stay in
mm,
your lane.
right, right.
We
Mm,
stay in our lane.
that's
I,
right.
I tell you what, the circle we travel in,
Mm,
the guys ain't gonna bring that 1932 calm with us. We've
mm,
been there, done that.
right, that's right.
We'll listen,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
We'll listen,
yeah,
dog, you know.
yeah, yeah. But no, that's real, brother. That's and I apologize. I mean, Commissioner Harris. I might say Commissioner Ham, but Commissioner Harris. Want
Harrison.
Harrison. I want to
Mhm.
make that
Yeah,
correction.
Hammond's one of my mentors too.
Right.
First black commission, I mean, first black police officer that was committed from Central
Mm,
District and came all the way up to the
mm.
ranks to be the commissioner.
So Baltimore City, y'all see, we have you have a native son right here sitting in the bullpen who born and raised in Baltimore City, who lived a life of making choices that impacted his life in a way that where he had to go to the penitentiary, but also you see the change that he's made with him as well as in the community. I'm saying, why not take advantage of this right here? He's an elder in the community. He's not an old man, but he's not a young man either. So I'm saying, so God's will, brother, going to be around a long time. And I'm saying, one of the greatest, saddest tragedies that I always talk about is that my father was born in 1919 in Talladega, Alabama.
Mm.
My father can grow anything, any vegetable up under the sun. You know what season to grow vegetables. He grew vegetables in the spring, in the fall, and in the winter. My father, had a fourth grade education.
Mm.
I never wanted for anything. You know, uh, my father went. He worked in a foundry for 40 some years. I got out of prison in '94. Me and my father talked. Me and my father talked. My father died in '95. From November of 1994 to September '95, me and my father talked that one day. We were talking our entire life.
Mm.
My father died with a treasure of agriculture in his head. When I was a kid, no, now I went because he made me go.
Right.
I didn't want to learn about growing corn and
Yeah,
vegetables.
yeah.
To this day, I wish I had took
Right.
advantage of the opportunity
Right.
because what he took to the grave with him, I can't get that now.
And it's funny that you said that. A lot of people saw Little Malvin as a drug dealer, but Malvin Williams started out as a gambler. People
Mm-hmm.
came from parts of the world to gamble with
Mm,
him. And Malvin made sure that I didn't hook school.
yeah,
He was a very brilliant man. And he said the same thing you said. One of the worst things we can do is die and take all that knowledge to the
man,
grave.
yeah. And see,
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, but
You're right.
Baltimore, I appeal to you. Don't let that happen to any of us. That
Mm-mm.
men you know in your community who have this information, wisdom. I'm talking about wisdom now, on top of information that can assist you in moving Baltimore City forward, if you will. Also, brother, Dr. Humphrey his book called Black Youth and the Juvenile Justice System. Dr. Humphrey, how can he be able to get this book? Say if you want.
You could contact me. I'll make sure. It said you can get it at
Mm,
Barnes and Noble, but if you get it from me, you get it cheaper.
okay,
Yeah,
so
you are my
definitely.
friends. I mean, I give it to y'all free.
Okay, we
Yeah.
appreciate that,
Yes,
brother.
sir. Yes,
But
sir.
definitely want to reach out to Dr. Humphrey and booking to again, Black Youth and the Juvenile Justice System. This is my copy right here. Definitely, I'm gonna get into it because there's a wealth of information that is inside this book. So, the brother gave out his number, how you can reach him, contact the brother. And again, to the men out there, you can reach me. You can reach me by my Gmail. It's freshair112194 at gmail.com. You can reach me on Facebook. Just put in, Max Ragland. Send an invite. You can reach me on what is called Instagram. Just men underscore bars with men underscore behind underscore bars underscore. I'm trying to come up a little bit,
Yeah.
with my social media.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get there because I understand.
Yeah.
The world has
Appreciate
changed,
Doc
man.
you coming up.
World's changed, man. So you got
That's
to change
right.
with the technology, man.
Right.
You know, but definitely, reach out, brother. I'm saying is, we start with a conversation. Like I said, we start with a conversation. We create a plan. We implement the plan. We come back to the table, what we can do better, what we can improve on, what we need to leave out. But we got to continue the conversation. This is why I had this conversation. Bring on Commissioner Harris. If by chance someone know him, you're welcome to come inside the bullpen. Mayor Scott, I want your president. I want you to tell your side of the story because no one know what you're doing better than you and what you're facing each and every day. We hear the comments from the people in the community. We hear the comments from within your very own department. But you have an invitation to come and sit right inside the bullpen and tell your side of the story, what you're dealing with as a commissioner of Baltimore City and Mayor Scott. An open invitation. It's West Ivan based because there has to be a working dialogue. How can we work together and begin to address a critical issue that we're dealing with our youth in this, in Baltimore City? So as always, I want to thank you all for.
Thank you for having me, Doc. Thank you, Dr. Wickler.
No, thank you, brother.
And,
Really.
and lastly, I want to say, uh, a lot of men that was in the street that were protectors, they behind bars, so the young
Yeah,
kids don't
yeah,
have nobody to
yeah,
check them.
yeah.
That's part of the problem.
It is. I mean,
Yeah, it's part of the problem.
and there's a lot with that we didn't go into today because there's the other side of that we were talking about. Just creating the plan, to being the protectors. It's only our show, but there's some. But it's not the last show, guys. It's not the last show.
But Doc, do they really think they're coming inside the bullpen? Do you think they might scare about?
I don't know, man. I think the man, hey, like say, come inside the bullpen, man.
Yeah,
You
come
come
inside
step
the
inside.
bullpen. Yeah,
Like you say, men respect men.
that's right.
Wherever you from,
That's right.
and sit down and let's definitely talk about what we can do, how we can work, collectively, as well as shout out to Dr. Winkler, down Harper Road, TNet come through. The brother not only in terms of have books and jewelry and food. Shout out to his wife Camille who's doing with the food services, definitely want to come out and support the brother. Brother been very active in the community, but also he's a psychotherapist. Also, he's was adjunct professor or assistant professor, at Waynesburg, University.
Wow.
So no, and then he's a young brother. He's a young brother, I'm saying a young brother, but but who have gained the respect and the knowledge of some of the elders in the community because of the work that he's doing. So definitely want to come out and support the brother. He's a family man. He's a beautiful brother. So definitely come out and support the brother, man.
Shout out to the Winkler family.
Yeah, the brother has a lot of wealth of information that we can benefit from, man. I learn from his brother all the time, man. So definitely, come out and support this brother. And
But
so,
Doc, excuse me, you see how you introduced me to Dr. Winkler?
yes, sir, yes,
What
sir.
you say? What's your famous say? Have a conversation.
Having a conversation.
He knows my cousin is his personal trainer.
Okay, so I'm saying, see, man, the world's small, man.
A conversation.
Yeah, that's where it starts, man.
Right.
You never know. You never know who knows who.
That's right.
So definitely, but again, Baltimore, Anniston, and those in other places. I want to send a shout out, to my children. Send a shout out. Also, Harmony Davis, A Moment in Harmony. If you're looking for that spiritual healing, she has a program every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. YouTube, you put in the name Harmony Davis, A Moment in Harmony. Beautiful sister, loving sister, queen, love her to death. She's doing some great work in the community. So you might definitely want to just put in her name and for that spiritual healing. She talk about a variety of issues that we all can learn from. So shout out to you, Harmony. Keep doing what you're doing because we all doing work. We all doing work in the community. So with that, Baltimore, Anniston, I love you. The next show, of course, to be the last Sunday in October. Is the last Sunday last Sunday of each month. Yeah, we have another bullpen. It's always going to be informative, a robust, conversation we have. Again, Dr. Humphrey, thank you for coming on.
Dr. Bradley.
People have a safe week. Be careful out there.
Thank you, Dr. Butler.
But definitely, I'm gonna see you next time inside the bullpen. Peace.
Peace.